Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my art room. I'm glad that you're going to join me today for this Color Cube 500 challenge. I'm using the Color Cube Volume 1 by Sarah Renae Clark. And today we are painting card number 7, which is this very interesting blues and grays palette. I love the silver. I'm excited for that. So for my colors, I have here Payne's Gray for my dark blue. I think it's a good match. Love working with Payne's Gray. And I have silver for silver. That's a very easy match. I have this one, phyllo cyanide. I'm not sure. Blue by Master's Touch. It's a paint I've had sitting around for quite a while, so I'm happy to use it now. For Sage, I have this Martha Stewart craft paint. I love it. It's like a really pale green. It's called Cloud. I think it's a nice match. Going to add some lightness to the painting. Now for my last one, I have this Arteza paint. It's called Fairy Tale Blue. It has some color shift. It's very light color shift and some luminosity to it. So I'm excited to see what I'm going to create here. I'm using my mixed media Fabriano pad. It is 110 pounds and it's 4x6. So it's the size of a postcard. Here are some others I've done from other color palettes. Some of these you've seen me paint if you've watched previous videos, and I think a couple of them I didn't record, but all right, here we go. Here's where we're going to start. I thought today that I would start with some stencils. Normally I start with mark making, and I thought today would be fun to start with stencils. This is a Gelli Arts. The rainbow one was a Gelli Arts. It's Wonderland. This one is the Crafters Workshop. It's called Cubist. This one is a very old one. It's called Mini Chicken Wire. It's from My Favorite Things. I don't know that they're still in business. And this is something I made using a hot glue gun and just scribbled out some shapes. And it's really cool on the Gelli plate, so I'm going to give it a try here painting. So as I was saying, normally I would start my project off with some mark making, some scribbles and lines just to get my hand moving and start warming up. But I thought it would be fun instead to put down my first layer as a bunch of stencil marks. And this is a stencil I use quite often. I really love these arching rainbow shapes. I don't love that big open kind of cloud formation there, right dead in the center. I'm not a big fan of that part of the stencil, but I still use this quite a lot. I use it on the Gelli plate. I use it here with this blender brush. It's a fun stencil. And I've got my 2 different blues already, so I've got some contrast going. And you can see I'm avoiding that big open cloud mark. And these are fun. I love how these arches look. And now I'm going to try. So I've never used this, handmade stencil in this way. It's quite thick because it's, made from a glue gun. And so this is an experiment. To be fair, it doesn't quite work as well in this way. On the Gelli plate, I get a lot of really great marks using this stencil. And this was just a glue gun. I drizzled the glue down into this shape and overlapped the shapes and just created, kind of a pattern in this square. And it creates really fun marks on the gel plate. They're very random, very natural, kind of organic. You'll see when I lift this up that doesn't quite translate as well in this method, but still some really interesting prints. I think if I had spray paint, I bet it would work really well with spray paint. But because those little lines are quite thick, my brush is just not quite getting down far enough. So maybe I just need a different brush and it would work. I could experiment. I'm sure it would look really good with spray paint. And then that silver doesn't even show up. It just looks a mess. So I go ahead and just wipe that out. Acrylics are so forgiving. If you make a mistake or a mark you don't like, or it's a color you don't like, you can just immediately get it wet and wipe it off. You can let it dry and paint over it. So here's my mini chicken wire. I like this pattern. It always reminds me of honeycomb. I've used it recently, a similar pattern recently, specifically with bees and with honeycomb. So I like how that looks. I like that it's layered. The light color is layered on top of the dark color. And this is Cubist from Crafter's Workshop. It makes a lot of fun little marks, little dashes. I would never have the patience, I think, to like paint in or draw in something like this. So the stencil works really well to create this very interesting pattern. So I let that dry. I'm going to come in here with this silver tempera paint stick. It's quite translucent though, so it doesn't give me a lot of color. So I end up just painting everything to see where I can get a little more color. This is a Posca marker, again in silver. Just adding some dots. I love the way the silver shines. It really picks up the light and reflects it back. It's really nice. And here I'm coming in with some silver paint. I liked those dots so much. I decided to just paint it all in. And you can still see some of the marks below it. The blue is still coming out. The important thing with abstract painting, and maybe just painting in general, is not to be afraid of covering up your layers. The layers are so valuable to adding depth and adding interest. And you put, one color down or one mark down, and then you layer it with another color and another mark, and some really interesting and beautiful things happen. So I was looking through my basket of your random Gelli printed papers, and I found this one which works really well with this color palette. And I especially love this really dark, I'm pretty sure that is Payne's Gray and not black. but I really like this dark shape, and I decide that I want to add it to my postcard here. And then the light blues just really work well. Because this is tissue paper, when I add it with matte medium to the page, that light blue is going to go very translucent, and you'll be able to see through to the other layers. Now this really dark Payne's gray is quite opaque. So once I add this, you won't see the colors underneath. I'm just going to square it up so that it'll have a nice edge to it. And I want it to go all the way, down to the end of that little postcard paper. I love this contrast. And I love that it's so austere. Like you can really see where those edges are. It's quite a bold piece. I'm just making sure that it goes all the way to the edge of that paper. And you can see now, I started with those rainbow arches, and I really loved them when I put them down, and they inspired, kind of all of the marks that came after, and now they've been covered up. I could wait for this matte medium to dry and add them back again, with a lighter pink color, and they would stand out again. But they served their purpose. They inspired the piece. They got me started, and so they're going to be in the background now. And you can see already, even without the matte medium, through that light blue in the upper right corner, you can see through to those dark squares which were created using the stencil. And then once I add the medium, they really appear. You can see them quite clearly. And that's the beauty of tissue paper in collage. Wax paper will do a very similar thing. Also medical exam paper. There's lots of ways to make your papers translucent. In fact, I have a video. I'll link it in the description box below, specifically on how to make your papers more translucent. So I also found this little piece of collage. This is just Posca pens that I made circles on. So I had this piece of blue paint, and then I just drew the Posca circles on top. And the Posca markers are acrylic. So once they dry, they are set and they're not going to move anymore. You don't have to fix them with a fixative. They're not water soluble once they're dry. And I kind of am thinking now just slightly like this is a landscape, perhaps. Obviously an abstract one. Maybe those dark shapes now on the bottom, those could be mountains. And these could now be some abstract clouds in the sky, the blue representing the sky. They're quite dark. I mean, maybe they could be rain clouds over a mountain range. I don't know. I love abstract art. You can look at it and you can see whatever you want. If you want to look at this and you just see the colors and the shapes, that's beautiful and that's great. If you want to look at this and you want your imagination to create a story so that you see mountains and abstract clouds, then I think that's wonderful too. I love abstract art because your imagination, what you see with your eyes and what you think, that's what the piece gets to represent for you. So now I have really dark colors on the top and on the bottom, and there in the middle I still have some of that silver and those lighter blues and a lot of white. So I like the contrast. And I'm just going to bring some of those circles down into the bottom for consistency. And because I like them. I think they're fun. They're white circles. Who doesn't like white circles? So you can see I've overlapped those collage pieces. And once it's dry, I go back and cut them. I don't think I filmed that part, but I do cut them so that they're flush with the page. And I paint out that final little arch just to create the full extension of that dark shape at the bottom. For me, I'm really looking at this and thinking this is a landscape. We've got some mountains and some sky and some open air. And I was thinking I would just add some more lightness and kind of work in those bits of collage so that they're not completely sat on top. They've got some paint to blend them in to the painting overall. And I realized I had lost all of that green from the color card. So this is that Martha Stewart cloud that I'm adding now, just to bring some of that green back. Again, it's a nice light color which contrasts nicely with those dark collage elements and even the dark cubist squares. The fun thing about working small is it's quick. You can make a nice little painting or a collage or a sketch really quickly. And here I decided I had overdone it. It was too much. So again, the beauty of acrylics. I love working with acrylics because, nope, you can decide too much. I liked it better before, and you can just get rid of that layer. And I am being careful because, the collage pieces, I don't want them to pull up. But I had let that dry. So they're not going to pull up. So if they were wet, you'd have to be really, really careful. So this is the end. This is what I finished with. I think it's really fun. It was quick. I loved it. I really enjoyed starting with the stencils as my mark making, and you can see a lot of that work is still visible, although I lost all of my original arches. They've moved into the background and part of the history of this painting. Thanks so much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you get your paints out and create. Here is the view of the color palette. I think we did a good job. You might enjoy these videos, and I will see you in a few days. Bye.